America's decline in Christianity appears to be slowing down for the first time in nearly 20 years. Pew Research Center finding that 62% of Americans identified as Christian last year. That's a number that has remained stable since 2019. Father Mike Schmitz is the Young Adult Ministry Director for the Duluth, Minnesota Diocese, and he joins us now. Good morning, Father.
Morning, Rachel.
So this is so interesting. It appears that, the number of people who were saying they were Christian or faith-filled or religious was declining. It's now stabilized. Here's what I dug into the numbers of what I found. And we'll put up some of these, a poll right here so you can see some of it. 86% still believe in the existence of a soul, 83% in God, universal spirit. I'm fascinated by all this, especially because I think we're more faith-oriented than other countries and nations, especially in Europe. But I'm interested in the male part of this. It appears that when you dig into the numbers, it's young men that are driving that stability. In other words, their numbers are going up, which is helping to stop this this lowering of numbers. So, talk to me because you're on campus. What's
Yeah,
happening to young men?
yeah, no, I think it's fascinating, and I can completely see it. I think that there's something. I think there's something that in the human heart, that the human soul in spirit, that longs for something more. And so when there isn't anything more offered, anything more than just, hey, here is financial success, here's worldly success, here is just success on, say, a playing field, a sports field. If nothing more is offered, then nothing more will be reached for. But I think that what I've seen more and more people, and in many ways, our culture has allowed the concept of God to once again be presented as a viable option, and not only as a viable option, but as something that actually is worth, that God Himself is worth reaching for, is worth aspiring towards, and that a life of holiness is possible. And then in that context, when you get to be able to declare and proclaim Jesus Christ, I think the response of so many young men is, yes, that is the model that I want to follow. That's the kind of man I want to be.
Yeah, and so much of what's offered to them, whether it's through technology, it's just it's so non-fulfilling that I can see why they would be drawn to that, and it being sort of countercultural as well. Let's talk about Lent, because on Wednesday is the start of Lent. So what would you
Right.
say to anyone who's watching our show right now who's like, you know what, this Lent, I'm going to have a more meaningful Lent. I'm going to,
Yeah.
really use these 40 days to grow and walk closer to Jesus. What would you recommend they think about over the next couple days before it starts on Ash Wednesday this week?
Yeah, I love that question. So I think a lot of times, have you, Rachel, you know the term asceticism? I bet, is that a
Yes,
phrase
yes.
or a term? So like ascetical practices, asceticism is things we typically associate with Lent. So that's, fasting, prayer, alms giving, those kind of things. But I was digging in deeply to the word asceticism. Asceticism comes from a Greek word, ascesis, which means training. And I was thinking, okay, wait,
Mm,
what if I didn't have that sense of, okay, this Lent, I'm gonna be a little bit holier, maybe a little nicer. I'm gonna, restrict my food or whatever the thing is. What if my mentality was this Lent, I'm gonna train. Like I'm
mm,
training for something. And I have you know the difference between like working out and training. Working out is good. I'm exercising. Training is I have a goal and I want to be able to finish a marathon. My goal is I want to do a triathlon. My goal is whatever the thing is. I think sometimes we walk into Lent without a goal, without a vision.
right.
And the vision that the church gives us is, okay, at the end of this Lent, how can you and I look a little bit more like Christ? And
Mm,
so as I enter into Ash Wednesday and go throughout Lent, is okay, what's my training going to be? And it could be the sense that I really see that I'm really distracted. Like when I'm with people, I'm not really with people. Okay, so what could my training be? My training might be, okay, I'm going to get rid of some distractions. So maybe social media stuff, but also could be something like, okay, when I'm with someone, I am going to resolve to look them in the eye. I'm going to listen to them. I'm going to be where my feet are, kind of that kind of
yeah,
situation. I, I can realize that, oh, my heart isn't actually like Jesus. Well, how does my heart become like Christ's? Well, do I spend any time with him? So this
right,
15 minutes a day that I'm praying isn't just because, it's good to pray, but it's because if I pray, my heart will become like his. If I spend
right.
time with him, then I'll start to look like him. So training this Lent, I think, could be a good lens to look
I,
through.
I think it's a really, really good way to look at it. It's sort of like a a Jesus boot camp, if you will.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like
I like
it.
that. Yeah.
I like it. Well, we're on the verge of Lent. Thank you for joining us, and I hope that we all learn from all your wise lessons. Thanks so much, Father.
Thanks, Rachel.